I have been struck dumb by some of the very, very weird laws and regulations that I've been hearing about, not only in South Africa, but all over the world, especially now with the lockdowns. All sorts of weird rules that the governments are imposing on populations. A lot that don't make any sense, a lot that seem like a waste of time and a waste of money, a lot that are not based on any factual evidence or real relevant information. But it made me think that, it's not only governments who make up weird laws and expect people to follow it. We have it in all areas of our lives, especially another big area is in business, in the workplace, where someone from a department is going to be deciding how every other department is run, how all the employees should behave, what facilities there should be, how issues should be resolved, what actually is an issue and what isn't an issue. They're deciding what people need, what it is that motivates people, what's positive, what's negative. They're deciding everything to do with the workplace for everyone who's there. And a lot of the time, as we're seeing in these weird government regulations, it seems like when someone takes that role of deciding how things are going to work, they don't necessarily have the practical experience to really know what is relevant and what isn't. And then we see all these weird kind of rules get made up. And that led me on to think how, that's a very particular example of how lack of communication and lack of really having the goal of understanding each other manifests, because that's really what it is. If someone is in a position where they're determining how things need to work, how things need to be, what the situation needs to look like, what is and what isn't a motivating factor, you would think that they should have a good understanding. And if they don't have a good understanding of the context, then, well, obviously they should get a better understanding of it. But that's not how we practically end up doing things. Most of the time, we will start imagining what someone else needs, imagining what's going to be good for them, imagining how they should be doing things in a particular context or environment, or at work or at home or in their family life or with their finances. We start imposing what we think people need without really asking any questions, without finding out, without getting to know the realities of the situation. And this is the kind of stuff that gets us into these recurring breakdowns of communication, recurring conflicts within our society. This can be on individual levels, but it can also be on much bigger scales that impact a lot of areas of our lives, simply because we don't ask questions with the goal of understanding others. And from what I see when I look at the world, when I look at other people, communication specifically is a skill that is very, very sorely lacking. The desire to communicate effectively with others and actually understanding what effective communication is. Right, so yes, I have changed locations because unfortunately things were a little bit too busy outside. So all of this brings us to the question of what is effective communication? What does it mean to effectively share your views and hear someone else's views to the point where you're both understanding each other? I think a lot of us get stuck on the concept that just because you understand someone, it means that you now have to agree with them, which is obviously not the case. Just because you understand who someone is, why they have the particular viewpoint they have, doesn't mean that you're validating that or agreeing with it. It just means that you've put yourself in their shoes, and now you're in a better position to be able to share your insights, share your views in a way that, ideally, where you're not judging them and you're not judging yourself, you're just sharing information. And this is a particular skill that each of us needs to develop individually. Not that it couldn't be helped by some more large-scale efforts to educate people on what actually it means to communicate effectively, but the practice of it needs to happen within ourselves, in our personal lives, with our friends, with our family, our co-workers, any person we come into contact with, to really want to know their view, their situation, their experience, to be able to have a informative conversation, to be able to work towards particular goals together, to be on the same page. And I personally find that it really helps asking questions, to keep asking questions until you're saying the same words. So, is this what you mean? Do you mean like this and this and this? And the more you kind of say back at them what they've just said to you, you'll get an idea of how well you've understood them, and they'll get an idea of how well they're expressing themselves. In any case, all of these events are great opportunities to really ask ourselves, how am I living and practicing communication in my life? How am I living and practicing my direct relationship with the people in my life? Am I imposing my own views and beliefs and imaginary scenarios on them? Or am I really taking into consideration who they are, where they're at in their life, what they're sharing, and working with that? Right, thank you for watching. You're going to see me next time.